in case nobody thought I needed it.
I'm sorry.
Hey,
Doyle, I gotta record that. You were showing bias issues? Let me hear it, baby.
he said I could have a cleaning lady.
With corona or without corona?
No, that's her name.
I actually took an antibody test today.
And?
See what happens.
Oh, you have to wait.
Hold on. Which antibody test?
The one from
Beaker
Quest.
column.
IgG, whatever it is, with a blood?
It was a vial.
Vial of blood. Not the one that was going around Cedarhurst.
I don't know.
No.
I got it done by a doctor, by an urgent care.
Dory Sharm.
So you should get your results tomorrow.
They said 2 to 3 days, sometimes faster. I don't know. But they have to send it out to Quest.
It might be too early, Stroil.
I had it. I was done 3 weeks ago.
I hear.
Wait, just to recap. So davening you need to see, but brachos you don't need to see. You just need to hear.
No. In order to have a tefillah b'tzibur, to say Yehi Shmei Rabban and Baruch Hu, you have to have 10 people together.
But you could say answer amen to brachos.
Correct, but that's a different requirement than me and you sitting together by a table. You could answer amen, right?
No, I'm saying on Zoom. You say a bracha on your drink. We could say amen because it's live. So why can't during davening? Why can't 10 people get together on Zoom and say brachos?
Because rules for davening is that you have to have 10 people together in one place, physically, and at the minimum that they should see each other. That's what's going on with the porch minyanim and the fire escape minyanim and all that stuff.
What's wrong with saying amen?
For what?
To birchas hashachar.
Why can't I just say amen right now?
No, it's amen.
You just did.
You're not allowed.
I thought it was only on amen yisayma. It's like if it's meant to be after a bracha and you're not saying it and you're saying and you missed it, you know? Not like you're saying Hashem's name for no reason.
No,
I thought amen yisayma is like you're supposed to answer amen to a certain bracha within a certain amount of time. And
no, amen yisayma is no. You can't just say amen. No. I'm not saying it's like saying Hashem's name. Let me tell you, these shilas that are coming in now are fascinating. I don't know. But yeah, okay. But
the recording after, and you'll tell us all about it.
Let's hear some other good ones.
No, nothing. No. Can you log on to a school Zoom without asking them permission? That's a good question.
Why? Someone wants to catch up on algebra?
Why? Why would that
maybe
question
they want to
come
spy
up?
out. No, maybe they want to spy out on another school, on another teacher.
Are they Zoom bombing this year? What are they doing?
No, you're saying they're doing a model lesson.
Right. Right.
Interesting.
Probably not a model lesson.
Good question. Then a play group.
I'm saying, what was your
because
psak?
then you have a problem if there's not a model giving a lesson.
What was your psak?
I think you have to ask. I don't think it would be right.
Knevis das, no? Knevis das, no?
Yeah, it could be. It means you can't. It's shilas. It's trespassing with someplace you're not allowed to go. It's like a virtual trespass.
And the play group, what were you saying?
Play group is the play group model closing down. Can she pay herself with her meiser money for the rest of the year?
Why do you have to do that?
Wow, she has a lot of meiser money.
I'm saying, Tzviaga, we learned this by you learned this with us. You said that if you don't have the money, you don't need to have. There's no chiyuv of meiser. So what's the difference?
What?
Yeah, but if you've already put aside the Meiser money, then it's Meiser money, no?
No, who says she doesn't have money? Maybe she just wants to pay herself continuously for the day.
Some of us have meetings and things to do after this call.
Yeah, I'm already 2 shots in, and we didn't even start the daf.
So you're 2 ahead of me already?
At least we're talking learning. I'm all you got to talk and learning a little bit too, in other subjects. You know what I mean?
There's the problem with Zoom. People schedule Zoom calls now.
You can tell this babysitter that she's eligible to sign up. She's eligible. She can get herself unemployment.
All right, we'll discuss it later. We'll what do you call it?
She'll get an extra 600 a week too. By the way, so she'll get at least 1,200 a week. Which
now this person, now getting back to that
she may not. If she's not legal and everything's cash, she can't get unemployment.
That's true. She's got. You have to assume
I'm sure it's
some of
not. I'm sure it's not legal.
You have to assume some of it she's reporting. She has to be stupid not to.
So now this person just texts me that they asked his Rebbe But so they say you can't ask Rebbe. He doesn't paskin neither shilas. So I asked, so he paskin other shilas? No, he's not a place. Like they asked him for advice. So like, hello, you know what? I said, you know what? Tell the Rebbe to call me. That's all.
If he calls you, can you put it on speakerphone?
Yeah. Hopefully, I'll cool down during the shir, and then he won't.
Could you record it like you recorded that other rabbi phone call?
All right, whatever.
What do you? If the guy calls you, what are you going to paskin the last?
I'm going to tell him he's got to get them out of the mess and let him call the mikvahs and beg, borrow, and steal and get them to let her in. That's all.
Why not just tell the guy to go to the ocean if he's in Florida?
The ocean for mikvah is a very big b'diavad. It's pitch dark. You got to go out till at least waist high, if not a little higher. Then sand gets in the feet and in the toes, which is a chatzitza, right? Then you got to make sure they don't bend too far, and then they're scared and they might not. The person watching them has got to make sure they see them. Is that enough? Is that enough stress?
Yeah.
I think you just go into a mikvah and have snow on top of them.
The Chabad ladies go into the ocean with you, so they'll be fine.
Well, he can
in Puerto Rico. I think in Puerto Rico that's what they do, right, Yossi?
Yeah. We were somewhere. One of those places we were. The Chabad ladies go out.
That's what the Chabad Rebbitzin takes you way out.
Right.
Her husband could do it. Why can't her husband?
Doesn't Orlando have a mikvah?
Nobody in Florida, they're ticked off at New Yorkers for coming down.
I know, but I'm saying Orlando doesn't have a lot of people that have a mikvah for tourist season. Maybe they'll let them in there and drive the 3 hours.
I don't know. Yeah.
And that, by the way, that mikvah is 45 minutes away from Orlando, by the way.
Okay, whatever
it
is.
South towards Florida, towards Miami? Is it south towards Miami?
I don't think so.
Okay, I hate to sound like Marchuk now, but it's irrelevant to us. This guy's mikvah problems in Florida. You know what I mean?
Well, you're doing a fine job, Aaron.
Okay, let's go.
Wow, you just invoked the Marchuk clause. You just invoked the Marchuk clause.
But why can't the husband go in the water with her?
Okay, so we'll discuss. Put it on your list for discussion after the shir.
He's negabadavar. He's negabadavar. Can't.
Bro, was that part of the Shalom bias class you got?
No, I'm not going to say.
Anyways, okay, just because the Chazar. Okay, should we skip the Chazar? Okay, no, we'll do the Chazar. Making a buses for muktza was Daf Mem Zayin Amud Aleph. Some parameters of a graph shorei, something disgusting, like when you can move it. And then we discussed attaching pieces together to create a utensil. That was Amud Aleph. Amud Beis is attaching utensils on Shabbos and Yom Tov loosely, and putting a pot under dripping sparks, and putting water in the pot. And the Gemara says sparks have nothing to them. That's why it's no problem to collect them in a kli and it won't make a muktza. And putting water there is worse than grama because you're actively making the sparks go out. Right? And then we started the Mishnah of what you're allowed to do hataas with and what you're not. Now again, the basic rule is that if you're insulating from before Shabbos, then you're allowed to insulate with something that doesn't add heat. But you're not allowed to insulate even before Shabbos with something that's going to add heat. Right? And on Shabbos itself, you're not allowed to insulate at all. Okay? Even with something that's just going to maintain heat. Right? So the Mishnah just went through different types of insulation, which ones add heat and it actually just went through a list of things that add heat. So Zok Gemara, yeah? Mem Zayin on the base. They asked the Shaila, Gefesh shel Zaysim Tanan. It says the gefes of olives, I will the shumshimin shaper dummy, right? But shumshimin is fine. I dilma the shumshimin tanan v'chol shekain the zaysim. Or maybe shumshimin, if we learn shumshimin and kol shekain zaysim, right? So tashima, meaning basically shumshimin. How you translate shumshimin again? That's
sesame seeds.
Sesame, right? Seeds. So obviously there's a gefes of olives and then there's a gefes of sesame seeds. So we're asking, is it all gefes or is it just gefes of olives? Tashima, Tamar Zerim Shum Chad de Beirav Yane Kupa Shatamar Ba also Lanichal Gefes Shel Zaysim. A box that they did atman on it, it's also to put it on a gefes shel zaysim. So shmamina shel zaysim tonight. I mean, it says specifically gefes shel zaysim. You're not allowed to take a box that has insulation, and it says gefes shel zaysim. So therefore, clearly it means olive. So But then the Gemara says no. For atmana, it's really both. It's olives and shumshimin. The Indian asuke havala the zeise maski havala the shumshimin loy maski havala. But for hevel heat to go up, olives make the heat rise, and shumshimin sesame does not make it rise. Meaning, if you take a pot and you put it down on top of olive pulp or whatever that stuff is, that will actually make the heat. It'll make the heat increase only on the bottom of the pot. But if you put it on shumshimin, that will not make the heat increase on the bottom of the pot, right? Yeah. So that's basically what we learn out from this is something interesting. Yeah. It's not so important though, but it's something interesting, which is we're discussing that you're not allowed to do hatamana with something that's going to add heat, right? But what happens if the thing that I'm insulating with doesn't itself add heat, but the only reason why it's adding heat is because it's on top of a fire? Meaning, if you take an urn, you know those people that take the urns and they put the paper bags on top of the urn? You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, you ever see that they want the water to be even hotter than it is in the urn, so they put a paper bag over the urn?
I've seen cloth bags, not paper bags, but yeah, I know what you're saying.
So cloth bags. So those are really not so simple.
I always thought that was something your mother did.
No, people do that. So that could potentially be hatamana with something that adds
My
heat,
mother
right?
did it.
There you go. Okay. So
does it
that
add
could
heat?
potentially be something that's considered hatamana with something that adds heat, even though a paper bag clearly does not make something hotter. But when you take the paper bag and put it on a heat source, then that will make it hotter. So basically, we're concerned for atmana, even if the thing that you're doing atmana with is not necessarily adding heat, but if you combine it with a heat source and that will add heat, then that's considered adding heat with something that doing insulation with something that adds heat, and that will be usher even from Friday. That's why they came out with these Shabbos. What you talking about? The Shabbos things that you cover over the urn with, and it said covered Shabbos. Those are actually usher.
So Yaakov, what about like a warming drawer?
Or a
warming drawer?
Or a plata cover.
Because a warming drawer, the heat source is probably under it, but the drawer itself is insulating it. It's keeping the heat in.
Right. So the reason why ovens are not an isra of atmana is.
But I thought a warming drawer is not an oven.
No. What?
Oh, you're saying the
same
space?
thing though. Same thing, the same halacha. As long as there's space in between the pot and whatever it is that's providing insulation, then that's not atmana, which we'll get to. We'll get to that when we do the practical.
So all these cases in the Gemara are cases where it's directly contacting it, basically, and it's getting heat from somewhere else?
Yes, it's right up on top of the pot. Yes, 100%.
What about a plata cover?
I never saw a plata cover, so I can't tell you. I don't know what that is.
So just getting back to the paper bag issue, before you go further.
I'm going to send you a plata cover picture tomorrow.
Okay. As long as there's space in between the pots and the cover, then you're fine.
But physics, it will tell you there's no additional heat source. It's just the paper bag.
But it's the same thing with the urn, though. That's what I'm asking.
No, it's not. There is no, Aaron. There is, because the paper bag combined with the heat that's coming out of the bottom of the urn, right? The heat source is on the bottom of the urn. So since that heat source is giving off heat and the paper bag is trapping the heat, then that paper bag combined with the heat source makes a considered hatmana with something that's adding heat.
Let me say it differently. It's not a plata cover. It's a plata blanket. Yeah, it's like this. It's like this.
So that could be an issue. If you don't use it right, that could be an issue.
Wow.
You don't cover the spout or something.
Jesse had this. No, isn't this what Jesse was talking about that time with you?
Yeah, Rabbi Stein said you have to put a pan on top of the food with the hatmana blanket on top of that.
So that there's a space in between the blanket and the food. Yes, that's what you have to do. Okay, we'll discuss that. Yeah.
What's the size? Well, tomorrow's Shabbos. What's the size of the space?
An inch, whatever, inch or two. The simple answer for that is, let's say you take a pan and put it on top of those pans. That's a pan that's wider than the pans that you have on top of the plata, and then you drape it over that. Then there's going to be automatically a space.
Can I just point out the fact that the pan's probably insulating from the top too?
That's fine. It's got to insulate all the way around.
It's got to insulate.
If you only insulate on one side, you're fine. You got to insulate all the way around. That's another thing, Rabbi Marchuk over there. You could, as long as the blanket doesn't drape down the sides, That's also not going to be atmana. It's got to fully cover on all three sides. Four sides.
What happens? What happens if you have a 9 by 13, a regular those 9 by 13 pan, and it comes with a cover, and then you fold the top, the little thing on the top, and you put a cover. Then that's closed the food by all three sides.
No,
it's
but
two different pieces.
The initial pot, a pot is not considered atmana. It's only the second.
Oh, okay.
Otherwise, how would you ever cook any food on Shabbos?
That's what I just realized.
Right, so no, the pot that it's in is not atmana. What are you saying?
Taking a bath towel and wrapping your whole soup pot around the whole bath, like huge towel. The problem?
When it's on the oven?
What do you mean when it's on?
When it's on the stove?
You shut the stove off right before Shabbos.
That's no problem because that's not adding heat because it's not on the heat source is not giving any more heat, so it's not going to add heat.
No, but you said that if you're continuing insulation and wrapping, which would keep up the heat, then that's hot Monday.
No, it's not going to add heat. If you shut the fire off under the thing, I'm no scientist, but if you shut the fire off under the soup and you wrap it with a towel, it's not going to add heat. It'll maintain the heat. It will not add.
But you can't do that on Shabbos.
But if the fire's on, it will add heat. You also probably burn down the house, but that's a different story.
Yeah,
but you can't do that on Shabbos.
You cannot do that
before Shabbos. Before Shabbos,
you can do that before Shabbos if you shut the fire. If you don't do it before Shabbos, even if the fire is shut, you're not allowed to do it on Shabbos.
And if something's on the fire and you just lay a towel or a plata, and you just lay a towel on the top of everything, not covering the sides, that's also fine.
That's also fine. Correct.
Now, are you allowed to leave it by the exhaust of the oven, the stove, not the stove top, the oven that's on?
And with a towel?
Yeah, can you move it over there?
No, because that's going to add heat.
It's going to add heat.
Because you're going to get heat coming out of the stove, out of the oven, and then the towel's gonna protect that heat.
So what if you put a towel over it and it drapes down all four sides? Yeah. What if you only do three sides and the top? That's
fine?
Okay?
3 sides on the top will be fine.
But you don't put anything. You don't put anything on top.
The entire thing, meaning draped over completely, or if part of it is exposed.
Yeah, as long as part of it is exposed, you're fine.
So if there's a space between the plata itself and the first and the top of the first pan, it's okay. On one side.
How did you get that? It's on stilts.
There's the plata.
Yeah.
And there are things on top of the plata.
Right.
You know, and then there's a blanket. The blanket goes over. So it's covered completely over. You're covered completely here, and then it comes up to like here-ish.
That's fine.
Okay. But if the whole thing doesn't cover it, I'll come with comments, but it's fine.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Fine. So anyway, but the point that we're trying to bring out is that if the heat source is coming from the bottom, then that's going to be considered Moisef Hevel with a combination of whatever it is that you wrap around the top. Okay. Let's go back. Yeah, now the Gemara gets into a different subject for a minute and a couple minutes, and then we go back. Then we get into muktza again. Rabbi Rav Zera iklu lebei Reish Galusa. Rabbi Rav Zera traveled to the house of the Reish Galusa. Chazyu lahu avda the anach kuza demaya puma de kumkum. Well, this one actually does have to do with hatmana. And they saw the Eved putting a jug of water on top of a kumkum, on top of an urn, meaning there was an urn that was hot, and then he took a pot of water and put it on top of that urn, obviously to warm up the water. So Nizia Rabba got like upset at why is the guy doing that? It's not allowed. Rav Zera said to Rabba, what's the big deal? Why is this any different than taking one pot and putting it down on top of another pot, which we know is allowed? You're allowed to put one pot on top of another pot. There, it's the water is already hot, meaning the water in the top pot's already hot, and all he's doing is maintaining that temperature. Here, he's putting cold water on top, and that's going to he's making cold water hot. That you're not allowed to do, right? Having nothing to do with anything else. He's just saying you cannot take cold water and cook it like that on Shabbos, obviously. You could take hot water to maintain it. That was one story. Another story. He took a cloth, some clothing, and he put it on the mouth of the barrel. And then he put a natla is like a spoon or something on top of it, meaning he clogged up the opening of the barrel with clothing, and he plugged it with, let's say, a spoon. Nizya Rabba, so Rabba got upset about that. Amarle Rozei Ramai, why are you upset about this? Amarle Hashta Chazis, you'll see. He says, right now, just wait and see. So at the end, they saw that he started to squeeze out the clothing, which you're not allowed to do on Shabbos. Basically, what happened is he closed up the opening with the clothing, and then that clothing got wet from whatever it was that was in there. Really, it has to be water. Otherwise, what the Gemara is going to say doesn't make sense. And then the guy went to squeeze out the water. So that's why Rabbah got upset, because he said, if you're going to clog up a bottle or a barrel with something that's clothing, you end up squeezing it out, which might be an Issa D'Oraisa. So don't ever clog up clothing with clothing. So Amalei, Maishna me parnuka. Why is it different than a parnuka, which is also a special clothing that you put over a barrel on Shabbos? Meaning, I guess it's some sort of soft cloth that you use as a cork. Amalei hasam like kapiti luya. There, you're not makbid on. I mean, since that's meant to clog, not clog, to stuff up the opening of a barrel. If it gets some wine or water on it, you're not going to care about it. You're not going to squeeze it out, because that's what it's meant for. Here, this is a regular article of clothing. If it's going to get wet, you're going to come to squeeze it out on Shabbos. So therefore, it's much worse than using a regular piece of clothing that's meant to stuff up barrels. You have a leibetevin, and not with grain. Ba'mine Rav Adam bar Masna me'abaya. Rav Adam bar Masna asked the Kash from Abaya, Moichin shetaman behen, ma'al u'talton b'Shabbos. Soft things.
Can I interrupt for a second? Somebody asked me to request that the Olim should open up their cameras. It's just much more geschmack for the Magid Shir.
I have enough people on camera, so I'm okay.
I said somebody asked me to request it. That's all.
Okay, it's requested that we get to see everybody.
It's not coming from me. It's coming from somebody else. It's not coming from my brother. Just it's much more geschmack for the Magid Shir.
We give
guest Magid Shir every once in a while. I could tell you this. It's much more geschmack when the cameras are open, and a lot of other reasons why the cameras should be open as well. Kind of makes you focus on the shir more. You can't get up and walk away. You can't you can't yell at your kids, anything like that.
Fair point.
We give Landau a pass.
Anyways,
such a jerk.
Anyways, I would like to hear from all the other guys on the shir, and you know what I mean, not just the usual 10 guys, but hey, whatever it is, it's all good by me. But it's a good point. I agree with his points, but whatever it is, as long as Olam's learning, that's the main thing.
Doesn't Landau speak for most of everybody anyway? He speaks enough for everyone.
There you go. That's true.
The problem is the people who don't have the cameras on are not by thing now, so they missed it.
Very good. Okay.
So we'll make the announcement again in about a half hour.
Yeah, but leibetevin and not with grain, right? So you're not allowed to use grain or straw, or whatever it is. So now we get back into muktza. If you use soft clothing, which is expensive, Rashi says that moichin are things that you normally would sell. I guess garments or whatever it is that you would sell. Are you allowed to carry those on Shabbos? Meaning they're muktza. So, but you decide to use them for hatmana, to insulate, because I imagine they insulate very well. It's felt. Rashi says it's felt. Right? So is it going to be muktza? Meaning normally they are muktza. All right? Because you use them they're expensive, so you're not going to use them. But now you're using them for insulation. So if you're using them for insulation, maybe now it lost its status of something choshev, and therefore it shouldn't be muktza. So Amrlei, so he said to him, "V'chi, ipnei she'ein loy kupa shel teven oimer u'mafker kupa shel moichin," because a person doesn't have teven, a person doesn't have straw. A box of kupa means a box. Because a person doesn't have a box of straw, obviously a person would rather use straw to insulate his hot food on Shabbos as opposed to using expensive felt, right? So, but because a person doesn't have straw, is he just being mafkir his box of felt things? What he's going to do He's going to use it for Shabbos, but certainly in his head, he's going to still use them for their intended use, in which case it should maintain its muktza status. So the Gemara says, let's say this is a proof to him. You're allowed to do hatamana, you're allowed to insulate with shearings of wool, and argamon is, how do you say argamon? L'shana shel argamon is pieces of
purple
also
wool.
Expensive material.
Purple wool.
Purple wool, yeah, over meichin and soft things, which is what the Gemara asked about. You could do hatamana, but you're not allowed to move it because it's muktza. So basically, you have to do the hatamana before Shabbos because it's muktza on Shabbos. You have to do it before Shabbos anyways, but you can't move it even after you take out the pot. So the Gemara says, if it's bringing that as a proof, that's not a proof. If you didn't use it for hatamana, then you're not allowed to take it. But if you use it for hatamana, then maybe you would be allowed to take it because it's not going to be muktza, because you've obviously showed that you're not using it as something chashuv anymore. If that's the case, what's the chiddush? If you're not using it for hatamana, of course it's muktza. You would think that the reason why these felt things are not muktza is because, like we learned yesterday, if you find any sort of use for them, then it wouldn't be muktza. So maybe they would be fitting to lean on them or to use them as a pillow or whatever it is, and then it wouldn't be muktza. Kamash Milan, that the Bryce is telling you that they are still muktza, even though theoretically you can use them to be leaned on. Yeah, fine.
Why is it a muktza?
Yeah.
Why is it muktza? Meaning, if you're using it, why is it muktza?
If you're using it or not using it.
Meaning, if you're using it to be matmin your kli or whatever your food, doesn't that make it not muktza?
Well, that's exactly the Gemara's kasha. The Gemara is saying no. It's still muktza.
Why should it be muktza?
Because in your head, you're not downgrading its status. By using it for hatamana, it's because you have no choice, but you're not downgrading its status. You're still considering it a piece of something chashuv, and you're putting the hatamana in place before Shabbos.
That's not using it, even though it is being used. But
even though it's being used, yeah, that's what we're saying. You're still not giving up on it, and you're putting it there before Shabbos, but you're not giving up, and you're still considering it muktza. Yeah, fine. It's a good question. Rav Chisda Sharala Adurei Udra LeBeisadi b'Shabbata. So Rav Chisda, he wanted to take this has no shaykhus whatsoever to any things that we're learning now, but it's very important though. We got to get into very important. Okay, it's a major thing here. He allowed you to take stuffing from a pillow, lebeisadi b'Shabbos, and put it back. I mean, you have a pillow and whatever, I don't know, what do they stuff pillows with, right? It comes out. So can you put it back into the pillow? So Rav Chisda allowed you, shara la'adurei udra lebeisadi b'Shabbat. He allowed you to put the soft things back into the pillow b'Shabbos. Eister Rav Chanan Bar Chisda Rav Chisda matirin beisatzaver b'Shabbos avaloi poisin. You're allowed to open up the neck of a clothing on Shabbos, but you're allowed to untie it, but you're not allowed to open it, right? This is talking about, the equivalent of this is basically, you get a new suit, and what do you call the things behind the suit? The flaps? No, there's another word for that. Or the pockets sometimes come with like a string.
Lapels.
The lapels or whatever it is.
Where's Ami? He should know what they're called.
Yeah, Ami.
The vents. The vents. They're called.
There you go, the vents, right? So the vents sometimes have that, some string that's keeping them together, right? So this is the equivalent of that. Can you bust that open on Shabbos? So Rav Chisda is saying that if it's going on the neck of the clothing, so you're allowed to untie it, but you're not allowed to poiskin, you're not allowed to open it, meaning for the first time. You're not allowed to put the soft things not into a pillow and not into all types of pillows or whatever it is, types of linen on Yom Tif. And it goes without saying that you're not allowed to do on Shabbos. So clearly what you see from this brisa is that you're not allowed to restuff the pillow on Shabbos. The Gemara says, one is talking about new things and one is talking about old things. To initially make a brand new pillow on Shabbos, that's usur. But to take an old pillow that the stuffing fell out and to restuff it, that's mutter. Right? Tani Nam Yochav, we learned the brisa like that. You're not allowed to put it in on Yom Tov, and it goes without saying you're not allowed to do on Shabbos Nashru, but if it falls out, Machzir Nois on Shabbos, you're allowed to put it on Shabbos. You're allowed to put it back on Shabbos. But Yom Tov, it goes without saying on Yom Tov. Okay, so now the Gemara digresses to discuss this thing.
That you're allowed to open the pockets on Shabbos on a suit?
What? Oh, so we're going to discuss. Very good. We're going to discuss that in a minute. Yeah.
Okay.
So Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav, haPeseach beis hatzavar b'Shabbos chayev chatas. If you open up the neck of a clothing on Shabbos, which is basically the clothing is not usable, right? And what are you doing? You're taking the equivalent of the vents on the suit and you're making it usable. Then you not only is it usher, it's not even usher midrabanan, it's usher midaraisa, which is why you chayev chatas, usher from the Torah. Okay, right? Rashi says, and this is the first time that you're doing this to this clothing. So it's a brand new shirt or whatever, and the neck is tied up, and you're breaking open the neck, so you chayev chatas if you do that.
Wait, is that the same? Is that the same problem as if it's not a new one, but it comes from the dry cleaner?
Exactly. Well, that was what the previous Gemara was talking about. Well, we'll get to the dry cleaner also. We'll discuss it in a minute.
This sounds like makabapatish.
Very good. That is basically what it is. It's makabapatish. You're creating. What's wrong with this? What's the chi of chatas, right? So you're creating this. You're doing the kli, right? Rashi says it's makabapatish. You're doing the final blow. You're making this thing into a usable garment. Good. So then they're going to
tags and taking out tags.
We're going to discuss it.
But suits and all that stuff is already created. It's not like they didn't create it. They put that stuff on afterwards.
That's also part. That's also part of the issue. If it was created and it went on afterwards, is that can be considered makabapatish? Yes, that's also part of it. So let's just finish the sugya and we'll discuss it. Ma bein zula meguvas chavis. Right? So what is the difference between this and the cork? I'll just touch it as a cork of a barrel. Meaning you have a new barrel of wine or a new cork of a bottle of wine. Yes, and this is where it gets important. Or a cap on a bottle of soda. Right? The Gemara is saying if you poke open a hole in the neck of a clothing, you're chayev chatos. So then how are you allowed to open a bottle of soda on Shabbos? Right? You're creating an opening or whatever it is. Amarle Rava Rava says no, one is attached, one is not attached. A cork is not attached to the bottle. Neither is a cap. So you're not creating the bottle, right? The bottle was there already before. By the clothing, it's part of the clothing, and therefore you are going to be chayev for that. Okay? So this is basically what the poskim discuss with the whole issue of opening bottle caps on Shabbos or not. Can you open bottle caps? Can you not open bottle caps? Right. So those that aser bottle caps say that the bottle cap is on there, and it's not. The whole shaila is whether the bottle cap is usable before it went onto the bottle or not. If it's only usable after it comes off the bottle, then it's going to be awesome. But if the cap can be a cap before, and it only becomes it loses its cap status while it's on the bottle, but then when you take it off, it goes back to its original cap status, then it's going to be no problem, right? Then the same thing with putting your hands in the pockets and breaking open the pockets or the vents. So the pashtus is that you're making that into a useful garment. So that would be a problem. Right, but Akiva brings up a good point that maybe the Gemara here is only talking about when it's you have extra pieces of clothing that keep it closed. But here by the suits, I think they specifically go after it's made and they sew it together. Right. So if that's the case, how can you say it's makabapatish? You're just taking things back, which the poskim say. So let's say you have gloves, you get brand new gloves on Shabbos, and the gloves are connected together with a piece of plastic, so you got to crack that. So that the poskim say is mutter on Shabbos because the gloves are the gloves. There's just somebody connected them together. So there's nothing wrong with breaking that piece. Same thing they say with taking off labels and all that on Shabbos. You'd be allowed to. Obviously, you don't want to tear letters and all that type of thing, but you would be allowed to because the thing is usable even without this. So that's the basic rule, right? Was it usable before or not? Yeah.
the cap of a bottle, the actual cap is becoming a kli. Is that the problem?
Yes.
Because the bottle's not my question
issue.
is do people look at the cap as a kli? Meaning,
yes.
What would people use the cap for besides for covering the bottle?
Don't make a
or
difference.
is that enough
that is
of a
the
kli
issue.
status?
Are you making
run out of a shot cup? It works very well.
I've never used the bottle cap as a shot. I don't think Hamayim did not use shot cap.
But
doesn't have to be usable or not. The question is it a bottle cap before? So Rav Shlomo Zalman famously held that metal caps are no good because he held that metal caps are not usable once they get onto that bottle. They are not usable, right? Mashengi, the plastic are usable because you can take them off the way they are. You can take off the bottle cap the way it is, and nothing changes about it.
You mean
right?
Saying,
but the metal ones,
like you're
meaning a crimp cap
versus
I'm
not talking about a beer bottle.
A crimp cap versus a twist.
So what's a metal cap?
Like they don't really have them anymore. In the old days, the
old
soda
the old soda bottle.
Doesn't have to mean a soda cap in a beer bottle.
No, I think Perrier water.
Like Perrier.
Yaakov, in the old Shayosha, we had the glass Cornell bottles.
Perrier, that type of thing. So that bottle cap is not usable unless you crack off that ring. Right? That ring, when you crack off that ring, now that makes the bottle cap into a bottle cap.
I live in Lawrence. I'm not so fancy. I don't drink Perrier.
There you go. Okay, so you don't have issues. That's I mean, at
I
least
don't know
for
what
that.
you're talking about. I'm just saying the beer bottle's not an issue. We know that, right?
Beer bottle's not an issue because the cap is nothing new happening to it. Nothing's cracking off.
And these Perrier bottles, there's a difference?
Yes. When you open it, there's a ring that's left on the bottle.
Okay.
And if you destroy the bottle cap when you open
actually left on the cap.
What?
On those Perrier bottles, it actually comes up with the cap. It's just
Does it?
Yeah. It's
okay.
It's like the old hammer bottle, the sodas from like glass bottles, like that.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Or you know what? The grape juice, the sparkling grape juice has it. I think.
What about regular bottles of plastic? Why is it any different?
Because we used to have it in Shayosha, the old Cornell soda bottles.
Exactly. Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
This was childhood stuff. Okay, good. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's
a plastic bottle cap? This is what Rav Shlomo Zalman said. Although somebody, a big chashav Talmud Chacham a couple of years ago, convinced me that Rav Shlomo Zalman's bottle caps are not today's bottle caps, and our bottle caps are not usable the way they are the plastic ones. But
I would say, Tzav, I think I once showed you the head, Tzav. I once showed you a plastic bottle cap. I don't know if you remember, but you could
obviously I don't.
You can open up a bottle cap, not all the way, and
with
pour
the ring
soda out of it without breaking the seal.
Correct. So that's what people want to say. Now, so basically, you see this plastic bottle cap? Do you see it? Yeah. So there's a ring around it. There's a ring. You see it?
Yes, we see it.
So so basically, this cap, when it was on, so it was connected, right? But this cap, you could have theoretically taken it off and used it as a cap someplace else, on another bottle or wherever it is, even before you crack this thing. Like Sroil is saying, you can just get it off with the ring, right? The metal ones, they're like shrunk on to the can, or not the can, to the bottle. And therefore, there's nothing you can do with that bottle cap. At least is the way Rav Shlomo Zalman says it.
Well, they
There's
start
nothing
off
you can do with
flat.
that bottle cap.
So Yaakov, they start off flat before they go on the bottle. There's a flat plate and they crimp them. That's how they go on.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't know if that changes it or not. But the question is, when it's on the bottle, when in the store you take it, can you do anything with the bottle cap the way it is right now on the bottle? That's really the question. If you can do something with it, then you're not doing anything, like the Gemara just said. If you're not creating anything, so then you're okay. The only question is if the bottle cap is not usable when it's on there. So the metal ones, Rav Shlomo Zalman says, is not usable. There's nothing you can do because it's so tight on there. The only way to use it is to crack off the metal piece. And since you have to crack that off, that means right now it's not usable. And now when you open it, you're making it usable.
Does
Others
it make
disagree.
any difference? Does it make any difference the fact that it's already perforated and all that stuff, and it's meant to crack, and that you're actually finishing the product to do so?
No, that's the issue. Like Aaron Zweig said, it's a makabapatish type issue, right? Yeah, that would be the issue, even if it's
Isn't that
perforated.
the same issue with? Is that the issue with toilet paper? Also, we're ripping it on the
Toilet paper is also a machatich.
It's
toilet paper. Look, there's June. You see, that was Kedai. So look at Junior's wag over there. But anyways, yeah. So you should have a lot of nachas. It's cute. Anyways, so
it's like a baby Hillel to come to the base measures, right?
That's right. That's
right. Also a great name, by the way. Just saying.
So if the problem is the cap, making the cap, what's the problem with cans?
Cans.
You're getting the food. You want the stuff inside. That's not the problem.
Right. So cans is first of all, cans you may be creating the whole can because right now it's nothing.
But you want to get. But you created and the bottle. You're not creating. You said you're not creating the bottle.
No, the bottle's a bottle. It's the cap is the issue. The can also you're making an opening, but that's a different story. Okay. We're just sticking to this. Yeah. There is another.
Why is that different? Why is that different than a barrel?
Anyway.
You broke open a barrel. So what?
What? Who's going first?
You don't care about the can. You care about the soda.
No, that's true, but you're also making an opening. By the way, Rav Shlomo Zalman allows cans. From what I remember, Rav Shlomo Zalman allows.
So Yaakov, isn't a magupa the same thing? You're breaking it open and now you have a barrel?
Yes, but but the barrel is a barrel before you put the magupa.
The can is also a can. The can is a receptacle for whatever drink is inside of it. How's it not a can before?
You can't use it until you open it up. You can't use
it for what? It was usable as holding a liquid.
No, but you're making an opening. You're making specific. No, that's a different
opening
issue.
Is never the issue the Gemara discussed here by a barrel.
No, that's right. The opening a can is not the issue here. That's not the issue here. That's a different issue. That's a different issue. Here it's just of whether you're creating a new thing. Because one was attached and one was not attached. Yeah, maybe you'll get clearer or less clear with the Gemara Vayta. Let's see Vayta. Rami Lei, Rav Yirmi Rav Zera, Tanan, right? So Rav Yirmi asked the Kasha Rav Zera, we learned in the Mishnah, Shalol Shal Kaivsin, V'Shal Sheles Shal Maftechas, right? So now, Shalol Shal Kaivsin is basically what they did is when they were washing the clothing, so they wouldn't lose the clothing, they would take a string and tie all the clothing together, right? It would sort of create a chain of clothing. The Shalshela Shal Maftechas, that anybody who is a hacker knows what this is. That's a keychain that have all the keys on them. They're all connected with a string, right? And you have clothing that somehow got sewn with shatnez. It's considered attached for tumah until you begin to untie the all three of these things. Meaning you untie the clothing, you untie the clothing one from the other, and the keys from each other. Now, what does it mean, chibur l'tumah? That means if you touch, let's say you have 5 jackets tied together to wash, and you touch one jacket, since they're all tied together, all 5 jackets become tummy. But once you start untying and loosening the string, then they don't become tummy, right? Then if you touch one, only that will become tummy, not the other ones. Alma shaloi b'shas malacha nabi chibur. So what do you see? That even when it's not being washed and it's already, the washing has been done, and now, but they're still all attached, it's considered attached, right? Uramin, I'll ask you a stira, makal shasa yad l'karno. If you take a piece of wood and you use it as a hand for an axe, right? So basically you have an axe, and then you just use different pieces of wood to swing the axe. So you're sticking a piece of wood to the axe, and obviously when it's in there, so then it's attached. Chibur l'tumah b'shas malacha. Only when you're using it as an axe is it considered attached. Meaning, and if you would something tummy would touch the metal, then the wood become tummy too. B'shas malacha in shaloi b'shas malacha loy. During this, but it's mashma only when you're actually using the axe. But once you take the axe and put it down, then it's no longer considered attached. So basically, what the Gemara is asking the stira, what Rav Yirmi is asking to Rav Zera as the stira is, it sounds like according to the second brisa, only when you're actually using it is it considered attached. But when you're not using it, it's not attached. And the first brisa sounds like even after you're done washing the clothing, and even after you're done with the keys, as long as they're still all tied together, they are going to be considered combined. Even shalei b'shas malacha. So amalei hasam shalei b'shas malacha adam asu lezarkon lebeina eitzim. There by an axe. So you just take a random piece of wood, you stick it into the metal of the axe. And then when you're done, you just take the piece of wood and throw it back into the pile of wood. Here, even even when the laundry is done, it's also not a it's still he's still happy to have the strings attaching thing. Because if one of the clothing gets dirty, so then he's happy it's all tied together. He'll just throw them all back into the wash. So even after the work is done, he's very happy that they're attached. So therefore, all the clothing is considered attached. So Mechaveru Basuria, Basura Masnula Lahosh Maitza Mishmei Rav Chisda. In Syria, they learned this Shmaitza in the name of Rav Chisda, but Pumbedisa Masnu Mishmei Rav Kahana. In Pumbedisa, they learned it in the name of Rav Kahana. V'Amila Mishmei Rav, and those that say learned it in the name of Rav. Man Tana Hambil Sedam Rabban and Kolam Achober Loi Hareu Kamoyu. Who is the Tana that says that anything that's attached to something is considered like it's one big thing? I'm Yudam Rav Rameir. It's Rameir. The Tanan Beis Apach or Beis Atavlin or Beis Haner Shabakira. So basically, they're ovens. Remember, good old Kira? That was the last parak, right? That's an oven, and they had these little attachments. Like next to the oven, you would put like a little jug to heat up oil and to spices. Sort of like parrots. You have a grill and you have a thing hanging off the side. You put all your condiments on it so that they're all readily there, right? So you have a beis apach, beis atavlin, beis haner, shabakira, metamin b'mago, be'metamin ba'avir, divrei Rameir, v'rashim metar. Right, so basically what it's saying, right, there's two types of tumah. You have a tumah of touching and you have a tumah of avir. Tumah of avir is when you have something earthenware and something gets into the earthenware kli, so everything in the kli becomes tumah even if they're not touched, right? So if you have this kira, which is made out of earthenware, so what he's saying is that if something tumah touches the oven, so then these little attachments to the side of the oven also become tumah. But if there's something that gets tummy in the air space of the oven, then it will not make these attachments tummy. That's what Rameir holds. Rav Shimon holds that tar because they're considered separate entities. So Bishon Rav Shimon Kasava Lafka Kiradam. Rav Shimon holds that they don't all become tummy because they're not part of the oven; they're just attachments. Hela Rameir, but Rameir Mamanoshach Ika Kiradam Afila Ba'aver Nami Latami. If it's considered like the oven, so even if something becomes tummy in the airspace, these attachments should become tummy. And if they're not like the kira, even touching it shouldn't become tummy. So the answer is really they're not like a kira. But Rabbanan the Gazbahu and the Rabbanan made a gezerah, and they said for avir they do become tummy. So the obvious question is if they made a gezerah for avir, then they should make a gezerah for touching too. So if they made a gezerah, then they should even make a gezerah for avir too. So no, like we had this before, and we'll have it again. And the Rabbanan, whenever they made a gezerah that something's tummy, they always left out a situation that it's not tummy. And the reason why they left it out is so that you won't end up burning truma and kachim, because we know that you're not allowed to take truma and kachim that's tahar and burn it for no reason. So we're afraid that if you're going to say that this thing is totally tummy, then truma and kachim are going to touch it, and you're going to end up burning the truma and kachim, even though it's only midrabanan that they're tummy, they're not tummy midaraisa. So therefore, the chama always left out a little bit so that you know, like, hey, by the way, it's only tummy midrabanan, so don't go burning kachim on it. You can't eat the kachim either because it's tummy midrabanan. At least wait until it becomes puzzle and then you burn it. Yeah. So that's what it is. That's what we're saying. So it's exer the Rabbanan, and the Rabbanan wanted to leave out a few one halacha, so at least it is recognizable that it's exer the Rabbanan. So Torah Rabbanan, Mespire shall prokim, if you have a scissors, see, and Yonah Diyayim, everybody's taking haircuts tomorrow. Yeah, Mespire shall prokim, if you have a scissors that comes in pieces.
You don't let us go.
You can take your own haircut, buddy. Mespire shall prokim. But if you want, you go to Florida.
You're telling everybody
they could. To Florida if you want. Yes, Mr. Bruder says you could take haircuts tomorrow. Yes, 100%.
Okay.
Mispira shall prokim. So if you have a scissors that comes in two pieces, the Ismail shall rehitni, and Ismail.
Yaakov, you gotta let the Lakewood people know that doesn't mean in a barber shop.
Yeah, that's true.
Or a barber coming to your house. He doesn't.
Can we shave it ready tonight?
You know what? I went to a drive-through Lakewood yesterday, and the place was empty.
Yes, they're listening. Baruch Hashem.
If you guys schlepp to Georgia, it's legal in Georgia tomorrow.
Jacob, we have to wait tomorrow. We have to wait tomorrow to a certain time, or right away in the morning.
Right away in the morning. Georgia. Anyway, so Mispira shall prokim, The Ismail Sharihitni, and the Ismail Sharihitni or Rehitni is also like we discussed it yesterday. We didn't say Rehitni, but like the thing that you smooth out the plaster with. So you stick. It comes in two pieces. You stick in the handle into the flat thing. I know. I'm sorry for my lack of spackling. I'm sorry for my lack of what? Yeah. So chibur l'tumah ve'ein chibur l'hazah. It's considered attached for tumah, meaning if one piece of the scissors, let's use the scissors because that's what we're all familiar with. You have a scissors. Scissors come in two pieces, right? But this one's detachable. Most of our scissors are attached, right? At least until the kids get to it. Yeah. So they're if they're two separate pieces. So when you attach them, if one piece becomes tummy, the other piece becomes tummy. But let's say they became tumas mace, and you have to sprinkle the afer para on it, right? So do you have to sprinkle it on both pieces of metal of the scissors, or if you just do it on one and that's enough for both? So the Gemara says, of course, opposites. It's considered attached for tumah. But for sprinkling for the tumah, it's not considered attached, and you have to sprinkle on each piece. The Gemara says, if it's legitimately attached, so even for sprinkling too. If it's not attached, and for tumah it should also not be attached. Amarava bar Torah b'shas malacha chibur bein l'tumah bein l'azah. B'shas malacha midairaisa, when you're actually using the scissors, then it's considered attached, whether it becomes tummy or whether it's sprinkled. B'shaloi b'shas, meaning for the mechatas. B'shaloi b'shas malacha, when you're not using the scissors, ein chibur loy l'tumah v'loy l'azah. It's not considered attached, not for tumah, not for azah. But gazru rabbanon al tumah shaloi b'shas malacha b'shum tumah sheb'shas malacha. And the Rana made a gezerah that it's going to become tumah even when you're not using the scissors, because you may end up confusing it when it's attached. And on sprinkling when it's a time of malacha, because of azah, not the time of malacha. So therefore, they've just made gezerahs both way, and therefore we have to ends up being like the classic thing where midrabanan we have to be machmer both ways. If one piece becomes tummy, the other becomes tummy. But if you're sprinkling afer para to get it out of tumah, then you're gonna have to sprinkle it on both pieces again. So for tumah, it's considered one piece, and to get it tar, it's considered two separate pieces. So we're machmer both ways. I'm assuming we're gonna learn tomorrow. That's why we're not doing another Amud. Is that all good with that?
Anybody making early Shabbos?
Yeah, I'm surprised you never used the chicken scissors.
My son to do the recording.
Yeah, ask what.
6:30? You're not gonna be home?
I don't know. I'm gonna see. It's a little crazy. Mom is crazy. News report, the whole deal.
News
You're
reports.
supposed to send me a link. First of all, perhaps you didn't send me a link.
6:30. At 6:30, yes, we're all good with that.
Yeah.
Sviago, I'm surprised you never used the chicken scissors.
Me?
Yeah.
Why should I use the chicken scissors?
I don't know. You do everything else in your house.
I don't do the cooking. I do cleaning.
No, just the eating.
I do the eating. I had 2 fat steaks tonight.
Well, just because he said he did the dishes the other day, you think he does everything?
It's more than I do, that's for sure.
Sorrel, you use the chicken scissors?
No, I don't use the chicken scissors.
Okay, so what were all the issues? What were all the issues you wanted to discuss?
Hello. Tomorrow.
No, I just didn't understand why the husband couldn't be
6:30 tomorrow. 6:30.
One second. Why can't we shave tonight already? Siako.
What?
Why can't we shave tonight?
You and about 1,000 other people asked that to me today.
No.
Because it's not covered Shabbos today.
What?
What if you're not sure you're gonna have enough time to shave tomorrow?
Even so, the poskim are not allowing it tonight.
You're allowed to shave tomorrow?
What about the younger rabbis?
I heard Stalin said.
That's a good one.
I heard that Stalin said you're allowed to shave a whole sweater.
Yeah.
Sorrel Gavaldik.
Yeah. So, Sorrel, what were all your issues?
Why couldn't her husband go